Good morning, Year 3. It's Miss Cartwright here. I hope you're all okay. Let's get started with our writing lesson then. So today's date is Tuesday, the 26th of January, and our learning objective today is to know the sequence of a story. So please, can you write the date and learning objective in your book or on a sheet of paper in your very neatest handwriting and underline it just like we do at school. You can pause the video now to do that. Okay, so now you have done that. Yesterday we were reading the story of The Tunnel. We were looking at the characters of Jack and Rose. You describe their personalities with adjectives. So today we are going to carry on reading the story. What do you predict is going to happen next? Do you think the personalities of Jack and Rose are going to stay the same, or are you going to change your mind? Let's read on now. This is where we finished the story off last time then, so let's read this a little bit again. His sister was frightened of the tunnel, and so she waited for him to come out again. She waited and waited, but he did not come. She was close to tears. What could she do? She had to follow him into the tunnel. Where's she going? The tunnel was dark and damp and slimy and scary. At the other end, she found herself in a quiet wood. There was no sign of her brother, but the wood soon turned into a dark forest. She thought about wolves and giants and witches and wanted to turn back, but she could not, for what would become of her brother if she did? By now she was very frightened, and she began to run faster and faster. What can you see in that picture? Can you spot anything that looks quite scary in that picture? Let's carry on. Let's have a look at this picture from the book. Why has Rose got such a terrified expression on her face? Why is she running so fast? Can you spot anything in this picture that is scaring her? Have a look at the trees. I'm going to give you a clue. Can you see anything lurking in the trees? Look now. What are these creatures within the trees? I wonder. Let's keep reading. Just when she knew she could run no further, she came to a clearing, a clear bit in the forest. There was a figure still as stone. It was her brother. Oh no, she sobbed. I'm too late. Look at Jack. He is frozen. He is made out of stone. She threw her arms around the cold, hard form and wept. Very slowly, the figure began to change colour, becoming softer and warmer. What is happening to Jack? I wonder. Let's keep reading. Then, little by little, it began to move. Her brother was there. Rose, I knew you'd come, he said. They ran back through the forest, through the wood, into the tunnel and out again, together. When they reached home, their mother was sitting at the table. Hello, she said. You two seem very quiet. Is everything all right? Rose smiled at her brother, and Jack smiled back. I wonder why Rose has got that expression on her face. Why do you think, boys and girls? Why is she looking at Jack like that? Now we are going to have a look at the sequence of this adventure story again. So we are going to sequence the story of The Tunnel. So let's have a look at the sequence this story follows. So to start with, we have got the opening here, okay, the opening of the story. And in the opening, we describe the setting and introduce the characters. Who are the characters in this story? You're right, Jack and Rose. They are the two main characters in this story. Next up, we have Journey. Journey is the next part of the story. So the characters are sent on a journey. Think about why. Why are they sent on a journey? Okay, so that is the next part of the story. Then we have the main events, okay? The events. Things happen that build up to the main problem in the story. The events that happen in the story. Next up, we have the problem. What happens? How do the characters respond? So what is the problem exactly in the story? And then finally, we have the resolution. So how exactly is the problem solved? How do the characters feel at the end? Okay, so let's have a look at the next slide. And I have got 5 pictures that relate to each of these, okay? So let's have a look at them. Let's have a look at these key pictures from the story then, okay? Because we are going to sequence these 5 pictures from the story in order. So first up, which one is the opening? What happens first in the story? I'll give you a few seconds. Right, so you're right, we have got this one here. So at the very beginning, in the opening, the characters of Jack and Rose, they are introduced. We know their interests, we know that Rose likes reading, we know that Jack likes playing outside, being really rough, okay? And we know they've got a pretty bad relationship, they don't get on. Jack is quite mean really to Rose, isn't he? Not very nice. So that is the opening. We get to know a little bit more about the characters in the opening. Right, next up, what happens next in the story? I'll give you a few seconds to decide which one comes next. Right, if you said this one, you would be correct. So, Mum, she sent them, hasn't she, she's had enough of them. They were constantly arguing, so she sent them out to play. She's fed up, and they travel to a wasteland and they stumble across a tunnel. Okay, which one comes next in the story? We've got this one here, we've got Rose. So Jack's crawled into the tunnel now, but Rose really doesn't want to go in. There's witches and goblins and all sorts, she believes, inside. So she doesn't want to go, but she kind of faces a dilemma now of should she follow him in or should she stay where she is. So that one would come next. That is an event in the story. That one is next. Then we have got the problem in the story. What happens next? What's the problem in the story? Which one comes next? If you said this one, you are correct. Okay, you have got Rose running, walking through the terrifying forest. We've got these trees that are made out of terrifying creatures again. She starts running because she looks absolutely petrified. So this one would be next. And she can't find Jack. She's really, really quite traumatized by it all. Okay, so we've got this one next. And then finally, the resolution. How is the problem solved? Which one comes last? The resolution of the story. We've got this one, haven't we? Here we have got Rose. She finds Jack. He's been turned to stone. But when she hugs him, he comes back to life and their bad relationship is repaired. They are the best of mates again. Okay? So you are going to use these pictures and you can rewind the video to have a look at these again if you need to. Then we're going to go on to the next slide now. Okay then, so you can almost make a comic strip like this. storyboard of the events of the story. So you can sequence those pictures I have given you into the opening, the journey, the events, the problem, and then finally the resolution, okay? So, in your books, you can complete this. In your sentences underneath your pictures, I want you to try and include the conjunctions and, but, and, because we've been practicing expanding our sentences and using a range of conjunctions, okay? So this is really good practice at doing this, okay? So you have got the 5 key events. You can draw them in your book. I want proper sentences in your book, capital letters and full stops, some beautiful illustrations, and then I'm going to show you my example on the next page now. Let's have a look at how I want you to set this out then. So you've got your Daytonello, you should already have that in your book from earlier. You have got your first picture then, so the opening picture. So you can draw a little illustration like this, and then you can add 2 or 3 sentences next to or underneath your picture. Okay, so let's have a read of my sentences. So once upon a time lived a brother and sister who were extremely different. The sister loved staying inside, but the brother liked playing rough outside. The brother liked to scare his sister at night because she was afraid of the dark. So what conjunctions have I used there? I have used but and because, okay? So I've used a variety of conjunctions to extend my sentences. If you want to challenge yourself on your illustrations, you could add speech bubbles, because I might be asking a few of you to include speech when we come to write our very own adventure stories later on in the week, okay? So I want 5 pictures with a couple of sentences next to each one, describing what is happening in each part of the story, okay? Using and, but, and because in your sentences. You can write opening, journey, events, problem and resolution underneath your pictures as well, if you want to, so you're really clear about the structure of this story. Okay, any issues, please let us know. I'm really looking forward to seeing these beautifully illustrated storyboards and some well-formed sentences too.